Welcome to AGRIMINDS, the podcast where we explore the intersections of personal growth and professional success in the ag industry. I'm Casey Bull, your host. Thank you for joining me as we dive in to the different strategies and insights that will help you level up your life and career. From mental health to leadership development, we're going to cover it all. So sit back and get ready to grow with AGRIMINDS. Hello and welcome back to the AGRIMINDS podcast. Today, I'm touching on something that I am a little hesitant on sharing. I've gone back and forth on if I want to say this out loud to the world. And I know that once I say this out loud, not only are many of you going to relate, but I'll probably feel better. I'll probably feel a little embarrassed and a little vulnerable, but I think I will feel better because I know that this is going to help somebody else. Just like so many of you listening, I've been doing a lot of things lately. And I actually said this to my husband the other day. I said, 3 years ago, I would have never have dreamt that I would be in the position that I am in today. To be at home with my kids every day, homeschooling them, building a thriving business, planning an event, doing the exact type of work that energizes me, and having full autonomy. I never would have thought one day that this is going to be my reality. And here I am doing the exact same thing that I wished and hoped and prayed for. Yet, somehow I still feel off. Somehow there are days where I am so emotionally and physically depleted. And there are days where I am super short fused. And some days I'm like, why in the heck did I decide to pull my kids out of school? Why in the heck did I leave that steady income? Why in the world did I decide to build a business and put all of this weight and pressure and expectation and work on myself? Why did I do that? Not because I don't love everything that I'm doing, but this is freaking hard. And I know that so many people can relate because it's like, aren't you supposed to love every aspect of what you're doing? Aren't you supposed to love and just be like on cloud nine if you run your own business and you're doing the things that you said you want to do and you're accomplishing your goals and you're making money and you're checking the boxes? Yeah, but that doesn't mean it's not hard. And I was talking to him about what burnout could look like and why I feel like I am just stuck in like this form of paralysis that I didn't have a name for. And then I had a conversation with someone who is an expert in neuro-linguistic programming. And basically, to dumb that word down, it means they can like rewire your brain. They can help you reset your nervous system. And so I was having this conversation with him and I said, this makes a lot of sense now that you've explained to me what this is, but can I run something by you? And he's like, absolutely. So I told him, I said, for the past couple of years, my son, who's 9 now, has constantly sniffed, like all the time, just sniffing his nose. And I was so annoyed by it because I'm like, just blow your nose. And I thought it was allergies. I thought maybe, okay, he has a sensitivity to something, right? And so I was like, take your allergy medicine. And yet it never worked. Take your nasal spray. It never worked. And I just honestly, I just would get so frustrated. I'm like, quit sniffing. Just blow your nose. Just stop. And then something happened and he lied to me about something really, really, really silly. I was in his room cleaning up and I found a bunch of candy wrappers underneath his bed. And I sat him down and I, was kind of wagging my finger in his face saying, how important it is to tell the truth and giving this big, long speech. And then all of a sudden he rolled his eyes at me. And I'm like, you did not just roll your eyes at me. I got so frustrated. And then he did it again. And so, of course, I got even more frustrated. I raised my voice and he did it a third time and I literally just lost it. And I was like, go to your room. I don't want to freaking look at you right now. And so, of course, as soon as that happened, a wave of mom guilt ran over me, and I'm like, am I doing the wrong thing? And I started second guessing, should I put him back in public school? Should I parent different? Like I had so many thoughts of self-doubt, and it started to spiral. And then I found that I was in a constant state of just like, I feel like I had to yell at him all day, every day. Now, don't get me wrong. I know that when you have kids at that age, they are going to screw up. They don't know. And so you do have to have a level of patience and grace to teach them and show them and lead by example. But my God, at some point, you should learn like the lesson, right? And so I felt like I was just constantly in this state of just being pissed, if I'm honest. Again, I told you I was maybe going to regret saying this out loud, but I think this is going to help because I know that so many of you are like, oh my gosh, I thought I was the only one who felt like this. So anyway, after I realized, what was going on, I found a language that it wasn't allergies. It wasn't he was rolling his eyes. Because when my son came home from camp, he went to 4-H camp, he had like this shoulder shrug all of a sudden, like a little bit of a twitch. And I looked it up, and then I had this conversation with this neuro-linguistic programming. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. Don't fact check me on the name of that. I'm going to get to who this person is in a second, so just hang tight. But I had this conversation, and they're like, I think that's a nervous tick. And I'm like, what? Why would he have a nervous tick? And I started looking into it. I'm like, oh my gosh, the sniffing, the eye roll, weird blinky thing, the shoulder shrug. You're right. That is a nervous tick. How did I not notice this? I'm with him all day, every day. How did I not notice this? And then I started to try to figure out where this was coming from. And I realized it was coming from me. I felt like an absolute bag of crap, if I'm honest with you. I'm the problem. It was my fault. Now, don't get me wrong. There are other factors that come into play here. The environment, genetics, a person's age, hormones, but also, the people that are around them the most, which is me. And so I'm not saying I'm 100% to blame, but I am probably a big, big, big majority to blame as to why my son is acting the way that he is. His behavior, the way that he communicates, or I guess doesn't communicate, the reactions, the emotions, the roller coaster, the mood swings. He's just mimicking what I'm doing. And I mean, if you think about it, my nervous system is stuck in fight or flight. And I speak on this all the time. I talk about burnout. I talk about mindset. I talk about mental health. Yet here I am completely oblivious to the harm that I was doing to my child. It shows up in ways we never expect and when we don't necessarily expect them to show up. In hindsight, though, I realize I didn't know any better, but now I do. And now you do too. You know what to pay attention to. And this can not only just show up in your kids, but in your employees too, right? You think about toxic managers and toxic work environments, and you talk about bad leadership. You're just probably mimicking what a leader before you did or the one above you, right? It's trickling down. And so this is relevant to you no matter your role, no matter the environment, no matter your personality type. We are human. Every single one of us has a nervous system, and it is super important to regulate it. But hello, newsflash, spoiler alert. How many of you have actually been talked to about this? How many of you have actually been trained or educated on what this even means? If I think back to my, education, my school days, yeah, I think we talked about what our nervous system is back in school when we learned about the body. But that was about it. I mean, I went to school for agriculture business economics. There wasn't a whole lot of nervous system regulation conversations. And, I think about my parents were farmers. We're talking about the anatomy of a plant and fungicides and cultivation practices. We're not talking about our nervous system. We're not talking about what does fight or flight or freeze look like. We're not talking about chronic stress and what that does to not only your physical body, your emotional well-being, and your relationships and how you show up, what your level of productivity is, right? Nobody talks about this. And so I am. And that means that I have to get very vulnerable and raw with you about these kinds of things because I want you to know that you're not alone. And what I absolutely don't want to do is to tell you, hey, here's all the things you're doing wrong and here's what to do to be better. What I am doing is saying, hey, I'm learning right alongside you. And if you've been around for any length of time at all, I am not here to tell you I am some expert. I am here to open the door for conversation. And I hear this all the time from not only my one-on-one coaching clients, but from those who've gone through the AGRIMINDS live program, is that this is stuff nobody's talked to us about before. We have never had this conversation before. I didn't even know that this thing existed. I didn't even know that this was something I needed to think about or pay attention to. And so I'm opening the door for conversation, and I'm doing that in person at the AGRIMINDS Summit. Yes, you heard that right. March of 2026, we are gathering together in person for a 2-day event where we're talking about this stuff. And we're not just talking about it, we're doing something about it right then and right there. And so the person I was telling you about just a little bit ago that I was like, hey, let me talk to you about this neuro-linguistic programming. I'm inviting this person. His name is Greg, and he's going to be one of the speakers at the AGRIMINDS Summit, and he is going to be going through an entire session around what does chronic stress and your nervous system and all of this mean? What are some signs? And what can you do about it? How can you have a conversation about it? How can you, quote unquote, fix this? What can you do to get yourself back into alignment, back into the place that your body should be when it comes to your nervous system and your hormones and your mindsets? So Greg has worked with first responders, and if you know anything about a first responder, they are constantly put in like chaos, crisis, high adrenaline, high stress situations. And so naturally their nervous system just like that's their norm. And so they're stuck in this fight, flight, or freeze mode, if you will. And so what Greg does is he works with first responders to not only educate them, but give them practical tools and resources and exercises to get yourself back to what should be normal, not what's common, but what should be normal. And so I'm very excited about bringing this to the agriculture industry and the AGRIMINDS community, because this is stuff, again, that nobody's ever talked to us about, but is deeply important because farmers work in unpredictable circumstances. We're constantly battling stress. We're constantly trying to juggle a million different things, and not just farmers, but just humans in general, right? But we are talking to farmers, ranchers, business owners, ag tech, entrepreneurs, all the people within the ag industry at the AGRIMINDS Summit. And so if this is something that is kind of poking you, I would highly encourage you to check it out. And I invite you to join us in person for this 2-day event in March of 2026. You can learn more by clicking the link in my bio. But I want to just keep the conversation going around burnout. And maybe it's not about doing too much. So we talk about burnout like it's just a time management issue, or we're doing too much of the stuff that doesn't bring us joy and energy, right? Like if we planned better, or if we hustled harder, or if we just got more done, then we would feel better, right? But science And real life tells us a different story because I own my own business. I'm doing all the things that I dreamt of doing. Here I am, but for some reason, I still feel what they're calling burnout. What society is saying burnout equals. Why am I feeling that if I'm supposedly doing all the things that should be bringing me joy? Is the finish line continuing to move? Like, I just feel like I'm never there. You know what I'm saying? And so let's talk a little bit more about that. So, chronic stress activates your sympathetic nervous system, which is the fight, flight, or freeze. It is what's going to put your body in survival mode. And here's the thing, your brain can't tell the difference between a real emergency and like this constant pressure that maybe you've put on yourself to perform, to please, to produce, and then put a smile on your face on top of it all. That's why burnout doesn't just go away when your to-do list gets shorter. If your nervous system thinks that you're in danger, rest won't feel restful. Sleep won't feel restful. Even your good days are still going to be hard to enjoy because your nervous system doesn't know what to do. It thinks that there is a lion still, when in reality, there is no lion. You're not being chased. Just take a moment to stop right now. Stop what you're doing, unless you're driving. Keep driving. But I mean, look out the window. Look around you. Is there a lion? No, there's no lion. But it doesn't, your brain doesn't know the difference. It just knows something's happening, and that's your body, just like those first responders, are now stuck in this mode because it's happened so often. It just thinks that that's normal. And so we're going to be diving further into it with an expert. I am not an expert. I just know what I know. And so we're going to be diving into this further at the AGRIMINDS Summit. And so here's some things that you can think about. If you're wondering if the summit is for you, if this session is for you, I want you to listen to a couple of these things. And if any of them resonate with you, I think you need to be in this room. Do you snap at your family? Even when you say, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to yell at my family. I'm not going to snap at them. I'm going to try harder. And somehow you still snap at them. You keep saying yes to things that you don't want to do because saying no feels unsafe. Maybe you're the people pleaser. Maybe you're the person that's like, I have to say yes. Otherwise, I'm going to let somebody down. Otherwise, I might miss out on opportunities. Otherwise, this may never happen again. And all of a sudden, this like wave of lack or scarcity overwhelms your body. So you just keep saying yes to stuff. Or maybe you're laying down for a nap. You're trying to go on vacation. You're trying to rest, but you just don't ever feel rested. You can't slow your mind down. Maybe you are getting things knocked off of your to-do list, but you're still feeling overwhelmed and like you're failing and that you're behind and that you're never like getting closer to this finish line and you're constantly spinning your wheels. If that's you, I want you to hear this. You are not behind. You are just stuck in a stress cycle, and you're not alone. It is common. It should not be normal, but it is common. The goal is not to do more. The goal is to feel safe enough to slow down, to pause, to breathe, to let your mind and your body know you're not in danger. There is no lion. That's the type of work that we're going to be doing at the AGRIMINDS Summit. And that is why I have hired Greg to come in and have this conversation with you and to teach you about these things, because I am stuck in fight or flight mode. I'm stuck in survival mode. And so I personally am going to be sitting down there with you, learning, listening, and leaning in so that way I can show up better for my family and for my clients and for my friends and for myself. I absolutely cannot wait. And so I pray that you're in that room with me. And if you can't wait until March, and if you can't be in the room, I am going to leave you with a couple of things that Greg has taught me around breathing exercises. So if you need something simple that you can do right now to calm your nervous system, I want you to try this. Breathe in through your nose for 4 seconds. Now exhale slowly out your mouth for 8 seconds. Repeat that 3 to 4 times. So let's just do this together. Breathe in through your nose. Exhale slowly out your mouth for 8 seconds. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Pause the podcast here if you need to and repeat that, like I said, a handful more times. This pattern helps signal your brain and your body that it is safe to come out of survival mode. Step out of the cave, if you will. It's safe to get out of the cave because there is no lion outside waiting for you. You can do this anywhere, and that's the good part. You can do this at the kitchen table, in the truck, while you're hiding in the bathroom for a moment of peace. If you're a mom or dad, you get that because children are everywhere. You can do this breathing exercise anywhere. This is something that I have to do right before bed now. It helps me just like let go of the day's worries and not bring it into the bed with me and sleep a little bit more soundly. And Greg has given me a couple more tools to do that I'm not going to share with you today because I don't want to spoil the session at the AGRIMINDS Summit. But I am telling you, this new way of thinking is it's not a quick fix. I mean, you've probably, if you're anything like those first responders, you've probably spent years getting your nervous system into this state. And it's going to take a little time to rewrite it and to unravel everything that you've built up. And so give yourself the permission to let this be a process. But if you need to, listen to this podcast a couple of times. Just fast forward to that one section with the breathing exercises. But I just want you to know that these are the kinds of conversations that we're going to be having at the AGRIMINDS Summit in March of 2026. We are going way beyond surface level here, folks. We're not talking about yield. We're not talking about markets. We're not talking about new pieces of equipment and machinery. We're talking about like in-depth diving into real life tools for balance, nervous system health, leadership, and showing up on purpose and with intention, both at home and in the field. So if this has resonated with you, know that there are a couple more speakers that I have not announced just yet, but there are a couple more speakers that are going to be talking more in depth around what does productivity mean? What does worthiness mean? How do we take control of these different areas that you're not really getting much conversation about within the agriculture industry? So this is going to be an event unlike any other conference or event that you're going to find within ag. We are touching on the topics most people don't want to even get near. And I'm saying, come on in, friends. The water is fine and it is so worth it. And it may be uncomfortable and awkward and totally new for you. And that's okay, because what you keep doing that's not working needs to stop. And this is something new that I'm encouraging you to try, because what's the definition of chaos? Doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different outcome. So this is something new that you can try that's actually going to be sustainable for you. So I just want to say thank you for being here today. I know that this was a little different than usual, but y'all, this is real. This is AGRIMINDS, and I hope that it brought you a sense of peace, or at least permission to step back. And if this episode helped you, I encourage you to share it with a friend, tag me on social media, email me, let me know how this has impacted you and if you'd like more episodes like this. Okay, talk to you soon.